Welcome back, Warrior. We are reading Genesis chapter 5, and Genesis chapter 5 has 32 verses, but Moses chapter 6 has 52 verses. So you can see that we get a little bit more revelation when we read the Moses version. But we're going to read the Genesis version today first, and then we'll read the Moses 6 version next. And then usually I think when I read the Moses versions, I have a little bit more commentary, just because from the Redheaded Hostess study guide, they don't even have anything in there for Genesis. They're just elaborating on Moses. Okay. So anyway, things, people to know in the Old Testament here in Genesis chapter 5 or Moses 6 says, Enoch was born about 622 years after Adam. Through the line of Seth, priesthood authority and covenant blessings were preserved, even as wickedness grew on the earth, leading toward the time of the flood. Okay. Definitions. In Genesis 5:22, it says Enoch walked with God. Here, walked doesn't mean moving on foot. It symbolizes living in close fellowship and obedience to God. It's kind of like what I call my walk with Christ. See right here, I'm walking on the treadmill. Let me show you with this crazy thing, right? And I call this walking with Christ. My walk with Christ. And so I used to have the treadmill. I'll tell you this, hold on. I used to have the treadmill over here in this corner. But until we finish making this little table here for the gamers, which I reluctantly allowed them to do, but they have to sit on these chairs or these stools so that they don't sit for very long. Anyway, when I had my treadmill over here, I loved it because I had a photo of Christ. You see his hand? It's like so cool, right? Let's see if I can come a little closer. Okay, isn't that just gorgeous? It's just like gorgeous. Anyway, I loved it, and therefore I put the treadmill right there so that I could feel like I was actually walking towards Christ. And because that's what I'm doing, because I'm reading scriptures, it helps me be closer to Christ. But anyway, so then we moved the treadmill to over this side. And now I don't have that picture up here, but I still want the photo over there because, as you can see, we have our TV there. And so if the kids watch stuff, they're facing that. And I feel like even in the back of their mind, or even as they are watching something or playing video games or something, they'll see that and they'll still know that is... It's like a subconscious thing, because it's like in your peripherals, right? Because you're not actually looking this way. Anyway, so I think all things that we have in our home can help us stay focused and help us remember Christ. And he asks us to remember him always, right? Okay, so I do love that Enoch walked with God. And so do we, all right? And then God... good to know is Moses chapter 6 is actually the Joseph Smith translation for Genesis chapter 5. And we can see how much Joseph Smith restored through revelation about the life and teachings of Enoch, simply because we have 52 verses in Moses chapter 6, like I was telling you, and versus how many we have in Genesis. So... walking with God. As Adam's family grew and spread across the earth, so did wickedness. In response, God called Enoch to teach the people to repent. At first, Enoch didn't feel ready or capable, something many of us can definitely relate to, but God's reassuring promise gave Enoch the strength to move forward with faith. His story reminds us that when God calls us, he also prepares and strengthens us to do his work. And I agree. Moses chapter 6, Genesis chapter 5 is where we're going to start. But I do like this quote from President Henry B. Eyring. It says, let me show you because it's attached to this little cute piece of art also. So it says, as soon as we accept the Lord's invitation, walk with me, the nature of our service changes because we know that we are not alone. End quote. President Henry B. Eyring, Walk With Me, April 2017 General Conference. I love that quote so much. And I can really, that quote really resonates with me because it's so true. As we know who we are and as we grow in that knowledge, we are more capable of doing things because we know we're not alone. And I think that helps us. It gives us that courage, that extra strength. Okay, so loving that. Here we go. Genesis chapter 5. The generations of Adam are Adam, Seth, Enos, Cain, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, who walked with God, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah, who begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay, this is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. Male and female created he them and blessed them and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. And Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness after his image and called his name Seth. And the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. How did he live almost 1,000 years? I can't even comprehend this, right? But they must have had, I don't know, I'm just speculating, but what did they do? And just grow crops, plant things, and their nights were pretty much just well, it's nighttime, gotta go to bed. They didn't have electricity, and I don't know. It's funny how thinking about living 900 years is just blows your mind. What did you do for 900 years? And it kind of brings me back to the story from Stephanie Meyer, which is the Twilight Saga, right? The Twilight Saga. And Edward and any of the vampires have lived for so long. And you just think what do you do? And I guess in our society, there's lots of stuff to do. But I feel in Adam's time, it's what did they do? They didn't have all the things that we have that we could do. But I guess he could learn so many things, and he could accomplish or do tons of different things. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so he had a son at 100 and whatever, 130 years. That's twice as long as some of us will live. Okay, and he had his kid, right? Okay, anyway, let's keep going. And verse 6, and Seth lived 105 years and begat Enos. And Seth lived after he begat Enos 807 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. And Enos lived 90 years and begat Canaan. And Enos lived after he begat Canaan 850 years and begat sons and daughters. What? That's so crazy. It's still blowing my mind. And all the days of Enos were 905 years, and he died. And Canaan lived 70 years and begat Mahalalel. And Canaan lived after he begat Mahalalel 840 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Canaan were 910 years, and he died. And Mahalalel lived 65 years and begat Jared. It's hi, I'm building a tent again, or it's the same tent I've had for 900 years. Things must have lasted a really long time back then. It's when we say, they don't make things like they used to. Well, yeah, certainly they don't, because Back then they had nothing, right? But like, how do people live so many years? Okay. But with that much time, there had to be so many people on the earth by then, you know? Especially because Adam and Eve had other kids besides Seth or Cain. And it just feels like tons of things happened. Okay. What else would you do? You know? I mean, food took forever to make. I'm surprised that they would even be able to eat any meals in one day. Like, you have to go find it, kill it, cook it. I would have been like, all I'm doing is making dinner. Like, it feels like I'm making dinner all day, even when I have all the tech that we have available to us. And I'm like, man, I've been in the kitchen all day, you know, and it's only been like 3 hours. But like, still, that feels like all day. Which is why I don't like cooking, actually. It takes so long. And then my husband eats it in like 3 seconds. Inhales it, I should say. Inhales. And the kids yell at me because of the food and they don't like it or whatever. So it's like I'm trying not to be fancy anymore. Now it's just like chicken and rice and a veggie every day. So if they get something different, they're lucky. And their dad, so Clark makes food more often than I do. And his stuff is always so much better than mine, I've been told. Plus there's the risk of me burning things, which is pretty usual. So anyway, what else would you do? Like, you'd go fishing, you'd go camping, you'd go like vacation time. Like, do they have that? I feel like it's so like always a vacation for them, right? Because they're camping, and that's what people do to go on vacation. For us, it's like we go camping. I don't know. I think I'm like really trying to put myself in their shoes, and it's like, I don't know. So hard to know. But you know what? Maybe they did have the dinosaurs then, because look at all the hundreds of years that are going by and they didn't have anything to do. So it's like, maybe the dinosaurs walked with these guys, which would make me feel a lot better, because they would either be like hanging out with dinos or running for their lives away from them, which would take up a lot of time, actually. Anyway, we're just speculating. Sometimes that's kind of fun to just think about the way that people's lives are, to give us a new appreciation for our life. Throwing that in my gratefulness, right? And I wonder if, like, the 900 years that they lived, if they would be like, well, I would trade it for like 2 years of the kind of life that you guys live, right? Because maybe it was really packed with just like planting, gardening, having fights, like wars, and then like protecting, and like, you know, I feel like if I were put in this situation, I would consider it surviving. I was just surviving. You know how you have that feeling? Like, people are like, how you doing? I'm surviving, or hanging in there. Like, I feel like that would really apply to these people, like the first people to inhabit the earth, right? It's like, yeah, they're surviving. Like, literally, that was it. Anyway, we're going to keep reading because I can keep going. Okay, so, and Mahalalel lived 65 years and begat Jared. And Mahalalel lived after he begat Jared 830 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Mahalalel were 895 years, and he died. And Jared lived 162 years and begat Enoch. And Jared lived after he begat Enoch 800 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Jared were 962 years, and he died. And Enoch lived 65 years and begat Methuselah. And Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah 300 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years. Oh, did you see that? And Enoch, and 5 years. And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Okay, and Methuselah lived 187 years and begat Lamech. Okay, so let's wait for a second. Let's back up. It says Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. So Enoch was translated or something But it said that he lived 60 and 5 years and begat Methuselah, okay? And Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah 300 years and begat sons and daughters. So 60 and 5 years and begat. And then all the days of Enoch were 360 and 5 years. So did you see how he lived 60 and 5 years and begat Methuselah, and then walked with God after he begat Methuselah 300 years. And so the total, all the days of Enoch were 365 years. So like he basically walked with God his whole life. Because at 65 years is when he was like, oh, I'm going to walk with God or something, you know? Again, speculation. There's literally 3 sentences here, or 4 sentences. And what are we supposed to gather, right? So that's what I'm gathering, is just like that. But I think that that's so interesting. And isn't it interesting that it was after he had a child? I think sometimes before we have children, we are different. Once we have children and that responsibility of parenthood hits us, it's like it changes a person. And like your goals and your aspirations and things, they just change, and you no longer want to be the person that you are. In fact, after having kids myself, even though we struggle with infertility for 7+ years, like after having kids and like thinking back, it's like, what did we do before we had kids? And that was a long period of time. Like some people are like, I don't even know what we did before we had kids. And they like didn't have kids for like a year. And it's like, well, yeah, it was only a year anyway. But like we had literally 7+ years to not do anything with kids. And it's like, what did we do? And the answer is work. We worked. We didn't take vacations. We didn't do anything. We literally just worked. And it was at the same place. So we helped another business grow is what we did. But it's so crazy to think that the same thing happened back then. It was like once you had a child, things change for you in your life. You don't have the same ambitions, because now it's like now you need God. You're like, please, Jesus, help me with this child, right? It's like after each kid, because I struggled with depression before when I was a teenager, I was like, okay, I can totally fall into the trap of the and the mental like strain and torture that comes with having a new baby, and like the baby blues. And so I was like, I should prepare and kind of make sure that doesn't happen to me, because that was really dark. And so I was like, okay, I will read the Book of Mormon as soon as my child is born, and that should help me. And boy, did that help me, because I could tell that was making a difference. And so after I had my first kid, I read the Book of Mormon. After second one, did the same. Third one, also did the same. And it was so good, because if you know, you know, and there's just like so much that it's such a heavy weight. And so like, I don't even see how anyone could be a parent without Christ in their life. Like if you're a parent and you do not have Christ in your life, and you might be wondering, why is life so hard? There it is. Okay. Because so many times in my mind, I'm like looking at my kid and I'm just like, he has no idea how lucky he is right now, because I love Jesus, right? Because it takes so much to like be a parent. And only Christ can help. Anyway, okay, so I love that Enoch was like, actually, now I need Jesus. Okay, so, and Enoch, let's see. And Methuselah lived 187 years and begat Lamech. And Methuselah lived after he begat Lamech 782 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. Literally not decades. Centuries. No, because centuries only like 100. What is 1,000? a millennia. I don't know. Anyway, it's like 1,000 years per person. It's almost like that's crazy, right? And Lamech lived 182 years and begat a son, and he called his name Noah, saying, "This same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because of the ground which the Lord hath cursed." Yeah, honestly, it would be crazy to live back then and not have what we have. So much technology has advanced just in the last, how many years since I've been born, not even like 45, like less than that. I feel like so much has happened since I was born. How did they live for 900 years? Anyway. And Lamech lived after he begat Noah 595 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. And Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay, so what's interesting here is something I'm noticing. Why do their names sound really familiar to Cain's names? So let me pull stuff up, because I really feel like I want to compare those two. It's like, wait a minute, am I missing something? I know I must be missing something. And I can't be the only one, right? Can't be the only one. Okay, so give me a second. Okay, let's see. So it says Cain had a son named Enoch. Okay, see, and then after Enoch we have Irad, and then he begat Mahajael. Oh my God. This is the worst names. And the other sons and daughters, and then Mahujael begat Methuselah, and other sons and daughters. And Methuselah, I'm butchering these, begat Lamech. Okay, so do you see these? Do you see how it's super similar? I'm like, we have Enoch, then we have Methuselah, then we have Lamech in there, okay, and then we don't have Cain, but we have Canaan, right? We have Mahalalel. Wait, okay, so let me start over because I was reading. Okay, hold on, I was reading backwards. Okay, so Cain had Enoch. And then he had Irad, but then he had Mahajiel, and he begat Methuselah, and then he had Lamech. Okay, we're gonna just stick there. Okay, because yeah. Yeah, that's what we're gonna stick with. Okay. And then look what we have here. Adam, then we have Seth, okay? Then we have, Seth had Enos, okay? Because what about Enoch? Isn't this the city of Enoch? I don't know. And then we have Canaan. I know. And probably they have the same names because, I mean, at some point you just have to start using the same names. Or sometimes you're like, oh, this is a family name. We got to keep it in the family. And so then we have those problems, which I wish that we would just make up new names because it really is hard during the family line and you're doing family history to like follow that. Okay, and then, so we had Enoch we had Enos. Enoch is from Cain's line. Enos is from Seth's line. Okay, and then we have Canaan and then Mahalalel. Mahalalel kind of sounds like Mahajael, right? And then we have Canaan, which sounds like Cain. And then Mahalalel had Jared. And we also have we also have Jared's brother or whatever, right? We remember that in the Book of Mormon. Anyway, it feels like all the names kind of run in together. And then Mahalalel, and then Jared had Enoch. See, there's both Enos and Enoch in Seth's line, but then there's an Enoch in Cain's line also. So like it can totally get confusing. And then we also have Methuselah from Seth's line, Methuselah and Lamech from Seth's line. And we have Methusael and Lamech in Cain's line. Like, is this just like a name that like everybody, like, was it the popular name that everybody was using during these times? Like, I don't even know. And how would they have known it was a popular name? Because it's not like they travel the world or look it up on Google. Like, give me the top 50 names for the year 22 or whatever, like, anyway, so I think it's so interesting because it's no wonder we get so confused because all the names are always like crazy. So anyway, that was something I noticed and wanted to point that out, or wanted to somehow record it. Okay, and then we have the Read It, Live It for Genesis chapter 5, verse 1 to 32. It says, And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. There are people in Scripture who built kingdoms, parted seas, and called down fire. But Enoch's legacy was simply this: he walked with God, and that was enough. Oh, I love that. I love that perspective, just like that was it. Walk with him. Loving that. That is so good, actually. I really love that. Okay, that is it for today. So until next time, you stay strong, warrior, and walk with God, walk with Christ. Oh, I forgot to tell you how the lesson went yesterday. I feel okay about it. I don't know. I was praying that I would feel better than just okay. I prayed that I would feel good about it. And I feel good about my handouts. And I feel good about sharing my story, and I feel good about certain parts of the lesson and how those went, and I feel good about certain comments. But the overall feeling was just like, okay, And I feel like the Spirit was there testifying. There was a point where I was like, we need to go somewhere else with this because this is not where I was trying to go, And one of my friends says, she says, there's always a bee in one's bonnet or something like that. And I was like, that's so funny. And that's so true. You always got to have that bee in your bonnet. And I've never had said that expression except in that song that you hear. But I was like, yeah, that is true. Why is that? Why do we have that bee in the bonnet? But I feel like we talked about it. I think the comments that came in after that, were really inspired. And so I was like, okay, it went well. I made a comment and then other sisters commented, and then I think it kind of was fine. I don't think that sister is fine, but I don't think she's fine with it, because I feel like when you go to a lesson and you want to get your point across, you really just want people to agree with you. And you're not necessarily, I hope that she was going with an open mind and an open heart to be able to receive revelation for herself. But I don't think that was the case. And so I don't know if what we talked about after actually helped her or did nothing, And so, but I think that I don't even know if this sister's in our ward or if she was just visiting. So, because I don't know her. And that made me sad, because I was like, wait, how come I don't know this person? Because we did ask for visitors and who's a visitor, and she didn't raise her hand or anything, because I was looking around, because as a teacher, you try to pay attention to all the peeps, and I'm still working on memorizing people's names. And it's hard because you memorize their names and it's fine, not under pressure. And then when they raise their hand, you're like, the woman in the pink, you just don't have, it just doesn't come to your mind. I'm like, I need more clarity when I'm up there, but I get so nervous still, speaking in public and speaking in a group, which is probably why I'd rather do online courses and and it just be me. And then it's like, well, if you want to buy me just teaching by myself the course, sure, right? Because I am a little bit less, I feel like I'm more myself. Maybe not myself. Maybe I'm able to express myself in a way that feels better for me when I'm doing this, right? Because I don't have the anxiety of like everybody there, and sometimes I don't know what I'm going to get, right? And that's the thing. But I do want to address those things because those things have come up even for me sometimes, or maybe they haven't even come up at all. Like it was literally a comment that I never in my life had considered. And so, and it was on the family proclamation. And so it was something I was like, well, like the lesson was on the family proclamation, but like, it was just something I had never even thought of, considered, or whatever, right? Like Satan did not torture me with that. And so it wasn't on my radar. And so when she commented that, I was like, what? And it kind of felt like, what do you mean? Like, cause to me, it was like an obvious answer, but not to everybody. So anyway, now I'm making you curious about what her comment was, but I do not want to mention it in case she ever listens to this or watches this, because genuinely, I do want to address those things that sisters bring up. And especially stuff that I don't even know. Like I've texted a bunch of my sisters who've made comments too and been like, I just look up to you so much. Thank you for that comment. I'd never thought of it that way, or, and things like that. And so like, I love doing that. And so, yeah, when there's one comment where I'm like, what, it's not like what, like, I can't believe you, what, but it's more of like, what, how, like, you don't understand that? Tell me more, it's like, tell me more about how you don't understand this. And then let's try and talk about it together. But like, that was not the setting to talk about it together. And so, yeah. And you'll get bees in the bonnet, but we love bees, right? Even when they're just not supposed to be in the bonnet. Okay. That would freak me out anyway. And it did. So, but yeah, like I feel like the lesson went okay. Some people said it was great. Some people said other things. So like, it was just like one of those things where I'm like, I'm okay with it. I'm not sad about it. In fact, I went to 2 sister missionary farewells prior, and I was so prepared. I had all the things up on the walls, and my husband was able to help. Clark was able to help set everything up for me, so I didn't have to stress about it. And all I had to do was press spacebar because he's like technology whiz. And last time when I had tech problems, I couldn't figure stuff out because the hubby did not help me that time because he was gone or whatever, working, or I don't remember what it was, or he had a meeting, or one of the things. And I was like, oh, I can do it myself. Clearly I cannot. And so I was so grateful that he came to help, and he helped hang up all the stuff. So it felt like really, like I was really prepared. Also, I feel like I need to have a team of people when I teach to come help me set up early. Like, I think this is going to be a new thing. And I don't just want it to be my family. I want it to be the sisters, because I feel like they could give me insight on the things that I'm printing out that are like the one-liner quotes. I love to have one-liner quotes kind of hanging around the room, but because it also helps me as I'm teaching the lesson to be like, oh yeah, I did want to talk about that. Or, oh yeah, I did want to mention that. Or, oh yeah, that was so powerful. Like, I need to make sure that. So it's just kind of like it's almost like a visual, what do I call it? Visual outline. And so anyway, but there's one cute sister in the ward that loves taking my handouts, and I just let her like take everything down. Yeah, you can take everything down and just keep it, and I will have the thing, like I'll just keep the putty that I use to put it up, So anyway, yes, let's find a team of sisters who will help me put stuff up for next time. I think this is going to be a good idea. Like, I literally just thought of this as I'm talking out loud. So thank you for listening. All right. And then now you can stay strong. Until Moses chapter 6. Bye.